On the 29th of May 1453, a Tuesday, the city of Constantinople fell to the Ottomans.
Fair right there.
They had been holding siege for 53 days, and tonight they made a final assault. Emperor Constantine, facing certain defeat, refused to flee, and instead made a desperate charge against the troops of Mehmed the Conqueror, accompanied only by his friends who, like him, had refused to flee. Outnumbered 1 to 1,000, they promptly died. What day is it? Asked the emperor to his best friend in his dying breath. It's Tuesday the 29th. Damn it, said Constantine. Now our descendants will fear Tuesday even more than they already do. Really? Said the best friend. I didn't know we feared Tuesday already. Can you please explain it to me? Of course, said Constantine. They feared it, and now, because we died on a Tuesday, confirmation bias will solidify our people's fear of Tuesday. But to really understand it, you have to go back to the creation of the week. It's about Gudea. Who? Said Mehmed the Conqueror, who had come to join the conversation. Constantine smiled. Hi Mehmed, I'm glad you asked. It all started more than 3,000 years ago. In the city of Lagash in southern Mesopotamia, Gudea was a priest king there. Wow, that's a cool job title. And to celebrate his new 7-room temple, he asked his bureaucrats to organize a 7-day festival. Among the bureaucrats was a scribe who practiced astronomy as a hobby. Let's call him Nabu, not like the planet in Star Wars, but like the Babylonian god of writing and wisdom. He held a meeting with the other scribes about the logistics of the 7-day feast. And to help brainstorm ideas, they took part in beer-chugging tournaments. And at some point, Nabu had an amazing idea. What if we named the 7 days of the feast after the 7 planets? Oh yes, that's a great idea, said the priest king Gudea. So what planets do we know? Well, there's the sun, of course, said Nabu. Then the moon. Oh god, this list of planets is not going well, is it? And yet it stuck. And today we still call those days Sunday and Monday. The 3rd day eventually was named after a planet, though. Martes in Latin, after the god Mars. And sure, in English you call it Tuesday, but that is because of Tyr, the Germanic god of war. And so Tuesday is Tyr's day. That connection between the 3rd day of the week, Tuesday, and the gods of war seems to have been forgotten today. I mean, for us in modern times, Tuesday is simply that day when the weekend is long gone, but the next one is still nowhere in sight. And so for a lot of us, it doesn't rank very high on our weekday tier list. In fact, a study showed that while Monday is unsurprisingly the most disliked day, it does have its fans. Like 6% of people list it as their favorite day. If you like your job, I guess that makes sense. I wouldn't know. Tuesday, however, barely has any fans at all. It's half as popular as even Monday. So it's as if Tuesday is a lesser version of Monday, not as disliked, but also not as liked.
I feel bad for you.
I don't think about you at all.
And yet we used to be afraid of Tuesday. Partly because of superstition, but also for a much more interesting reason. The fear of Tuesday used to serve a specific purpose. Have you ever heard the expression, on Tuesday don't marry, don't travel, don't start a business? No? No? Okay, well, me neither. But apparently it was a thing, and still is a thing in Greek and Spanish culture. The idea dates back to the fall of Constantinople, which was on a Tuesday. And the Reddit user Deleted, well, he's famous I think, did come across this advice and naturally came to Reddit for clarification. I have heard rumors that we shouldn't start new things on Tuesdays. Is it true? If no, then can you please give a detailed explanation? Not superstitious one. Then a well-meaning commenter explains that he should be fine. Deleted replies that he's going to start a new wallpaper this Tuesday to see if anything bad happens. And then this exchange ensues. Your test isn't scientific. A bad thing may happen, but that bad thing will likely not be causally connected to you starting something new on Tuesday. That bad thing may have happened whether you started something new on Tuesday or Wednesday or any other day. Okay, thanks bro. So why shouldn't you start an adventure on a Tuesday? Sure, there is this link between Tuesday and the gods of war, but I mean, looking at this guy, one could easily imagine that he symbolizes courage and strength, so it almost sounds like, on the contrary, Tuesday would be a good fit to start a capitalistic business. And yet Mars, or Ares to use the Greek name, was feared more than he was revered. Rather than embodying the ideal soldier, Ares was chaotic, violent and bloody. He was the god that, sure, you didn't want to fight against him, but you probably didn't want him on your side either. Athena was the goddess you wanted for strategic war. Ares, on the other hand, was essentially a violent idiot. This is evident in the time Hephaestus trapped him naked in a net, or when Diomedes, a mortal, wounded him with a spear. Ares then ran, crying back to Zeus to complain, and Zeus replied, "Do not sit beside me and whine, you double-faced liar. To me you are the most hateful of all the gods." So Ares wasn't quite the devil, but he was a violent idiot with too much power. So yes, Tuesday is his day, but not as a glory to him, rather it's a warning, a reminder that we should not be like him. So these expressions about Tuesday being unlucky really grew out of this old fear of uncontrolled power, and we fear this for good reason.
You have no idea what a true monster is.
A lot of the world has this tradition of Friday the 13th as the unluckiest day of the year, but in some Mediterranean countries, they actually do Tuesday the 13th instead. Now, if we return for a second to some Reddit wisdom, this commenter reminded us that Tuesday is entirely arbitrary and a made-up distinction, and he or she is absolutely right. The concept of a week is abstract, and the length of 7 days is arbitrary. In fact, a lot of cultures used different numbers. The most extreme example would be the Pawukon, which is a 210-day calendar that has 10 different concurrent weeks of 1, 2, 3 and up to 10 days. The first day of the year is the first day of all the 10 weeks, and because 210 is not divisible by 4, 8 and 9, they added extra days to those weeks. Oh god, no wonder the Hindus are good at math. And the Pawukon to us seems overly complicated, but to be fair, it is just as arbitrary as our 7-day week. So being afraid of Tuesday because it is the day of war doesn't seem at first to make any sense beyond silly superstition. But the one true thing is that we, as humans, need rhythm in our lives. Sunday brings us rest, maybe Friday luck, and Tuesday used to tell us to avoid starting new projects. These things are arbitrary, but it doesn't mean that they are meaningless, because these ideas do help us regulate our habits. So being afraid of Tuesday, while it might seem at first like a silly quirk people used to have, actually serve the purpose of encouraging people to put their projects on hold and think about them. Take a step back and think about what you are doing. Okay, so to summarize, your people were primed to fear Tuesday because it was named after the gods of war. Then, because I killed you on a Tuesday, even though this was just a coincidence, it pushed people to believe that Tuesday really was unlucky. Yes, Mehmed, that's exactly right, said Emperor Constantine. But this fear of Tuesday also survived because it is useful, in that it encourages people to take their time. If on Tuesday you cannot start an adventure, then you are forced to stay home and think about it, which will hopefully help people be better prepared for the adventure they may start the next day. Okay, yes, I understand. Just another question though. Is it true that you had a heroic last stand against my army? Because I cannot remember it personally. Oh, well, let's say that there were no eyewitnesses, but everyone in the Western world seems pretty happy to accept that, yes, I died heroically. No one really ever questioned it. Well, I guess people need to believe in a hero. Okay, thank you, Emperor Constantine. Fair enough, I guess. Now, could you tell us another story, please? For example, I'd love to know why people used to fear the color blue. Oh, thank you, Mehmed. What a coincidence. I have just a story for you. All you have to do is click on the link that should be on your screen now. The video is called Why We Used to Fear the Color Blue, and I cannot say it's good, but I promise it's not worse than the video you have just watched.